Throughout the vast timeline of human history, one truth has stood unwavering. The greatness of an individual is shaped by their thoughts. This principle echoes across generations, from philosophers to innovators, from ancient sages to today's most celebrated entrepreneurs. Consider the stories of Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or Jeff Bezos. Not one began with abundant wealth or inherited status. Their journey started with a distinctive mindset, a way of thinking that set them apart. Napoleon Hill, the legendary author of Think and Grow Rich, distilled this concept in a simple but profound phrase: what you think about, you become. In essence, your thoughts form the blueprint of your destiny. Yet, if this wisdom is so universally acclaimed, why do so many people struggle to find success? Why do countless individuals spend their lives chasing dreams that seem perpetually out of reach? Is it because they lack vision for the future? Or have they simply failed to recognize the latent value within themselves? To illuminate this question, let us turn to a small, poignant story. A tale of transformation that not only touches the heart, but also reveals the power of perspective. At a bustling train station, amidst the endless stream of hurried travelers, there was a beggar named An. His days revolved around seeking charity, extending his hand to strangers with the hope of receiving a few coins. Some gave, most ignored, and nearly everyone passed by without a second thought about the man sitting quietly in their midst. One morning, amid the usual tide of commuters, a successful businessman named Min appeared. His elegant suit and confident stride made him stand out from the crowd. Anne, observing Min's demeanor, thought to himself, "This man must be wealthy. If I ask him, surely he'll give generously." Emboldened by hope, Anne approached Min and held out his hand. But instead of reaching for his wallet, Min paused and asked an unexpected question. "Do you only know how to ask? Have you ever thought about giving something?" Anne was taken aback. In all his years of begging, nobody had ever posed such a question. Stuttering, he replied, "Sir, I am just a poor man. I have nothing to give. My life depends on the charity of others." Min smiled, not with condescension, but with a grave sincerity. He said, "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you have no right to receive from others. In business, I believe in exchange. If you have something to offer, I am willing to pay. If not, I'm sorry. I cannot help you." With that, Min boarded his train, leaving Anne alone with his swirling thoughts. That night, Anne could not sleep. Min's words echoed relentlessly in his mind. To receive, you must first give. And pondered, what could I possibly offer anyone? I have no money, no skills, nothing at all. Yet, another thought crept in. If I continue to believe I have nothing, how will my life ever change? For 2 days, Anne sat in silent contemplation, refraining from his usual routine of begging. On the 3rd day, a simple scene caught his attention. Near the train tracks, a wildflower bush was in full bloom, its tiny purple blossoms swaying gently in the breeze. They held no monetary value, yet their beauty was undeniable. Suddenly, inspiration struck. What if I give a flower to each person who gives me money? At least then, I'd have something to exchange. The next day, Anne gathered a handful of flowers and returned to his spot at the station. Each time someone gave him coins, he smiled and handed them a flower in return. Initially, people seemed surprised, but soon their faces lit up with smiles. Some even thanked Anne, their eyes brighter than before. Anne noticed something remarkable. When he had flowers to give, people were more generous. When the flowers ran out, the flow of coins diminished. Anne realized people prefer to exchange, not simply to give charity. Days turned into weeks, and Anne's reputation grew. He was no longer just the beggar at the station. He became known as the beggar who gives flowers. He was now a source of small joy for the travelers passing through. One morning, Min returned to the station. This time, Anne approached him confidently. offering a flower and saying, "Sir, today I have something to exchange. If you give me money, I will give you this flower." Min smiled approvingly, handed Anne some money, and accepted the flower. "Well done. You have understood the value of exchange. Today, you are no longer a beggar. You have become a businessman." Those words were more than praise. They were a mirror reflecting Anne's new self-worth. Inspired, Anne made a bold decision. He left the train station and sought out local flower growers, buying their blooms to sell to travelers. Piece by piece, he built a small business. At first, it was just a few bouquets on a street corner. Soon, he had a flower stall that attracted regular customers. Within 6 months, Anne's life had transformed completely. He was no longer the beggar who gives flowers, but the proud owner of a flower shop, preparing to expand into new neighborhoods. Fate brought him and Min together once more at the train station. Min glanced at Anne, not immediately recognizing him, until Anne smiled and said, "We've met twice before, remember?" Min was astonished. You're the beggar from before?" Anne nodded, smiling with ease. "That's right. But now, I'm no longer a beggar. I'm growing my flower business, and today I'm here seeking new opportunities." Min was speechless. He shook Anne's hand, not as an act of pity, but as an equal. There are lessons here for all of us. Success begins in the mind. If you think of yourself as insignificant, you will remain so. If you believe in your own value, you will find ways to prove it to the world. To receive, you must first be willing to give. No one likes to be exploited. Every person desires a fair exchange, even if it's just a small flower. True change comes from within. When Anne stopped seeing himself as a beggar and began to think of himself as a florist, every action he took led him down a new path. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all, we are never just beggars unless we choose to be, trapped by our own thoughts. The thoughts you plant are seeds in the soil of life. The seeds you sow will determine the harvest you reap. If you believe in limitation, you will live within boundaries. But if you trust in your own worth and abilities, you will keep growing. Just as Anne transformed from a beggar to a businessman, so what thoughts are you sowing today? Remember, simply changing your mindset can change your future. And if you find this story meaningful, share it with others. Perhaps in doing so, you too are giving away a flower, and you may receive far more than you ever imagined.